as we talk heartless. Senator Vieira, I've not heard from you, you know. I told you I will make time available for you. If you would like to apologize, you cast aspersions on my character, and you said on Hansard and printed in the Express, page 16, Friday, 9 July, noting Roberts' given reason for his failing to attend meetings of Privileges Committee, that he suffered from asthma. To be frank, when I read this report last night, I wondered if a tactic was being used to delay until Parliament prorogued, at which point the matter would die, Vieira said. And if so, that would be an abuse of process. So just like that, Senator Vieira, you cast aspersions on my character. I don't know you. You know me. You know my health issues. You saw my medical records. We lined together. We played football together. We went to school together. I don't know you. How dare you, boy, that I was faking asthma to cat-spraddle a process, to abuse the process, that just so you come to that conclusion? On what basis, Senator Vieira? I was very confused. I gave you an opportunity to apologize. I gave you my medical records and showed you the track record and how I missed my Senate sittings that are very important to me. But as expected, you clearly don't have the wherewithal, the humility, and the manhood to apologize. No problem. But let me just show you something, Senator Vieira. Out of stock, maybe you think it's funny, but a front page news article, out of stock of asthma drugs in Trinidad and Tobago. So all the other asthmatics like me who will be scrambling and panicking and frightened now because the asthma medications are not available, you might think it's a joke because asthma is a joke to you. And I just made a joke to not go in a stupid Privileges Committee and to thwart the process. So you said, Mr. Vieira, let me read something for you. A pharmacy in Diego Martin said, shortage started right after the latest lockdown, right? Rahman said he believes one of the reasons for the shortage could be because international manufacturers were keeping the drugs for domestic use to treat COVID-19 patients as cases increase and different variants emerge. COVID-19 patients, asthma medication internationally being kept to deal with COVID-19 patients. Brazilian variant, I am a COVID-19 patient. I must put myself at risk and not do a committee of privilege through Zoom like all the joint select committees. But you who read your report in the night before, come in the Senate and the newspapers to say that I is a skull man, I was faking, I was feigning to affect the process. Who the hell are you, boy? They continued, if that is what they are using to assist the people in the ICU and the HCU, countries will start keeping it. Asthma medication similar to what I use is being kept to treat people with COVID-19 in the HCU and the ICU, Senator Vieira. A source in one of this country's COVID-19 facilities said, who did not want to be identified, said, the respiratory solutions used in nebulizers are used to relieve chest tightness. The source said part of the treatment of airway diseases such as asthma would also include the use of corticosteroids as an anti-inflammatory, which is already part of the treatment regime for COVID-19 to help improve prognosis. So someone with asthma before getting COVID-19 is under extreme risk to their life. And you get on record on Hansard and cast aspersions on my character, impute improper motive, and you don't have the testicular fortitude nor the character to apologize? They continued, people with comorbidities such as asthma are more at risk of being critically affected. Let me read that again for you, independent Senator Vieira. Let me read it again for you, sir. People with comorbidities such as asthma are more at risk of being critically affected by the virus. But I, afraid 3 PNM in a stupid committee of privileges, you clung. In April, the University of Oxford research team found that 2 puffs of asthma medication, budesonide, pulmicort, one of the solutions listed above, given to patients within the first 7 days of symptoms of COVID-19, twice a day, could benefit many over 50s with early symptoms. I am over 50. Now, Independent Senator Vieira, I'm not sure if you're aware of the convention or the tradition that was started a while ago by the PNM of putting independent PNM senators into the Senate to thwart the process, to humbug the importance of an independent institution. We had independent Senator Helen Drayton, who as soon as Kamala lost, jumped on a PNM board at CNMG, and now she's head of the PNM NIB board. But she feigned and pretended to be independent in a Senate for a whole term. When I read 23 of her contributions, I could not read anymore. 23 out of 23 was scathing against Kamala Prasad, sister, but she held the title of independent senator. There was an independent senator called Small, who's now on the board of Nikwan PNM Energy that gets ministerial gas to blow up people down inside of there, who took Malcolm Jones' assets of taxpayers, $3 billion, and got it from the PNM for 10 million cash and 25 million US in bonds or shares, which are now worth nothing. There's also the Martin Daly I go deal with hereafter. But Independent Senator Vieira, I'm going to read something for you and you could deal with it as you would. When an individual accepts a public position which requires him to be independent, it is a very serious and sacred responsibility, Senator Vieira. That individual must remain insulated from executive influence. He must carry out his functions in a fair, transparent, and impartial manner. The law has recognized that decisions must be made in accordance with the principles of natural justice. This was part and parcel of what was being debated on the Committee of Privileges report for me, that I was not given natural justice. They never heard me, they didn't hear me, I didn't present a case, they just, and then you come and say, I was ducking and hiding to thwart the process, to abuse the process, just so you reach that conclusion. Okay, Senator Vieira, you're entitled to your opinion. Natural justice means 2 things. 1, the right to be heard, and 2, no man must be judged in his own case. The rules against bias. Persons in public office acting under the banner of independence must be especially careful and cautious about not being independent, but also projecting an independent image to the public. The law has evolved to recognize 2 forms of bias. You all could put it up there for the people to read now. There are 2 forms of bias the law has recognized. There's actual bias and there's apparent bias. Actual bias is where a person has some direct financial or other interests in the subject matter of the decision. Apparent bias is where a fair-minded and informed observer looking at the surrounding circumstances would conclude that there was a real possibility of bias. The independent bench of the Senate is one of the most important independent institutions in this country. Society holds their contributions in high esteem and often use their views as a guidepost in forming their own conclusions between the competing views of the government and the opposition senators. So the independent senators are very critical because the population know Anil is a UNC. Them others is PNM. And then they have independent senators that people could listen clearly to, beautifully. And therefore that independence must be guarded jealously. State boards implement government policy. Naturally, persons on state boards, particularly chairmen of state boards, are partial to the policy of the government and in event are seen as part of the government state apparatus. This is why, upon the change of government, members of state boards and chairmen resign their positions or are replaced. An independent senator, being a member of a state board, especially its chairman, is objectionable on both grounds of bias. Actual bias first and foremost. Firstly, an independent senator, being a chairman of a government-appointed, cabinet-appointed board, is in receipt of financial compensation for his services, along with other associated perks, benefits, and the prestige of holding a chairmanship. Members of state boards, and particularly chairmen, who customarily receive more compensation than ordinary board members, therefore have a direct pecuniary interest in preserving the population's confidence in the current administration. Board members cannot receive their financial and other benefits unless the current administration, meaning the government's position, is preserved. So you would not hold, don't bother if it's giving you trouble. You would not hold your position if the government who appointed you loses. This leads to questions and presents a case for actual bias. A change of government would likely see them replaced. An independent senator is in a position to support government policy in the Senate and use his or her speaking time under the cloak and protection of ostensible independence to generally speak in favor of the current administration and influence the population to have confidence and support the existing administration. There is therefore a glaring conflict of interest and or inherent bias in appointing a member of a state board to serve as an independent senator. Apparent bias also. Secondly, the population's perception of independent senators is that they are neutral, unbiased, and de facto arbiters between the government and the opposition. Members of the public often rely upon the views of independent senators to make up their own minds and form their own views on legislation and other policy debated in the Senate. The population also views state boards as an arm or an extension of the existing administration. It is also the well-accepted perception that state boards are often filled with supporters of the current administration. State boards, you have Noel Garcia, Newman George, A.A. Kwamina, go down the line. These are close confidence supporters of the PNM and Keith Rowley. Very strong state boards. Efforts are assisting their political party in being elected. Members of state boards are appointed and approved by cabinet and are therefore considered to be political appointments. The fair-minded and informed observer would inevitably conclude that there is a real possibility that a person who benefits and has had an interest in ensuring that the current administration stays in power could use his position as an independent senator to support and speak in favor of the government to influence public confidence and support in the current ruling. Independent Senator Vieira, I humbly ask you, have you ever been appointed by this PNM administration as a member of a state board? Have you ever been appointed by this PNM administration as a member or chairman of a state board appointed by the cabinet? did this occur simultaneously with you swearing on the Bible to be an independent senator? And how long did this occur, if it occurred? What was your remuneration per month? How much remuneration did you get? How long was the extent of your service or your tenure? And did you disclose this in and put on Hansard in the Senate at any point in time to alert the population that you had accepted an executive position or a position on a board from the executive or the government of Trinidad and Tobago? And finally, sir, since you know plenty and you cast aspersions on me without an iota of evidence, facts, or information, that I would be so disgusting, so immoral and unethical to try to utilize and feign asthma, a comorbidity that could lead to death of COVID-19, in order to obfuscate or dodge dealing with a PNM privileges committee, which either way would end up with the same result. I could not understand why you were so scathing against me. I would like your explanation. I would like answers to these questions. Do you believe that it is possible to be an independent senator and hold and accept a position from the government of the day, either government? Do you think that that is proper? Do you see any apparent bias, actual bias, or therein? And will you clarify for the record, for the population, what is your belief and your position, Senator Vieira? And I still await your apology, sir. Have a good night. God bless. Be safe.